You're watching Onward with Onrie. I'm your host, Kompan, and today we're going to be talking about something very interesting. And I'd like to kick off today's episode by reading a post from my good friend Russell Nohelty, who last Thursday posted something very interesting on his social media feed. So here's what he says. He says, "Nobody is going to find you, at least not at the beginning. You have to find them. It's hard, brutally hard. It's exhausting, it's time-consuming. Most days it feels like a waste of time. Many days it is a waste of time. And you have to do it for years. Nobody wants to do it. Almost everybody gives up. But that's the truth. Nobody is going to magically find you. You have to find them. Then you have to work your ass off to make them care about you. And you have to do it over and over again. That's why your book isn't selling, because you didn't do any of that." And then he put a little hashtag for tough love, because this is tough love. And I let Russell know that this is something that every person who is looking to make a career in comics needs to understand before they actually go up and do this. Like, you're not going to become that overnight success. And what Russell said was very important, because not a lot of people have the guts to say it. So Russell, thank you for sharing your insight with us. And I actually spoke with him on Facebook recently too, and I invited him to be a guest on the show, so hopefully he takes me up on the offer at some point and we can have him on here and he can share some more of his wisdom with us. Today I want to kind of, today's topic kind of leads into what Russell said. And when we hear things that typically punch us in the gut, like the tough love, when we get that tough love treatment, it's important, because that's how we get stronger, so we need to hear that. But once we get that blow, the most important thing is to get up from that blow and to pick yourself up and go forward. And that's what I want to help you do today. So once you get that gut punch, how do you get up, and how do you make yourself stronger from there, right? So today's topic is basically going to be what you need to do and why you're probably not doing it. So the first thing you want to think about after you hear this message that it's a tough road ahead, nobody's going to just come and buy your work, you have to work really hard at it, is to relieve yourself of the pressure that you're being faced with. Because even though this is the reality, you still have time to prepare for it. So take the pressure off and remind yourself that Rome wasn't built in a day, because it wasn't. And just relax, trust that you'll figure this out. And surround yourself around people who believe in you. Like, let me give you guys an example. So my 5-year-old kid right now, he's learning to ride his bike without his training wheels. And this weekend, we took his training wheels off, and we started pushing him on his bike, and he keeps falling, and he's having a really hard time, grasping the fact that he's now in complete control of what's going on. And that fear of not trusting himself is what causes him to keep falling. And he keeps telling me too, after he falls, he's like, I'll never get this, and he's crying and he's upset. And the one thing I make sure to do is to tell him that, is to reassure him that he will figure this out, because this is not quantum physics, this is learning how to ride your bike. It just takes more practice, it just takes time. And that's the thing about all this, guys. This is a journey. You will learn and you will grow as time goes on. So even though you get these tough love lessons, don't let them discourage you from doing this. Let it sink in and find a way to build yourself up. And remember, surround yourselves around people who believe in you. It's very difficult when you're around somebody who's always criticizing you and judging you and doubting you. But in some ways, that can also be a driving motivation for you too. But don't get too sucked into that, because that's just, that's too much negative energy. Keep yourself around people who will encourage you to get to that point, because that's how you're going to learn. And you want to enjoy this. You don't want to get there out of spite, if that makes sense. And here's where it starts. If you've never done conventions before, or if you're looking to restructure yourself, you first got to go out there and do some recon. Go to conventions and observe. I've talked about this many times. Go to shows, look at what's going on the floor. Figure out the kind of salesperson you want to be. Figure out how you want to portray yourself, how you want to portray your project. And learn by observing. Just see it and think to yourself, what's missing? What are you going to add? Because that's what Artist Alley is all about. Every table represents a personality, a different type of feel. that's why I don't feel like you can really compete with anybody at Artist Alley, because unless you're both selling the same identical product, you're not in competition with each other. Everybody has something different to offer. So what is it that you have to offer? What is it that you can do that's different? All right? That's something you should do first. You know, go there and just give yourself time to absorb how you're gonna improve the convention floor area with your presence. All right. The next thing is build or rebuild your strategy. So you've gathered all this information from going to conventions, and you've made observations. Now take the time to build your strategy. And if you've been at the game before and you're looking to get back in, rebuild your strategy. See where you can strengthen things. And you're not going to be perfect when you go in there. No matter how experienced you are, there's always something you forget. There's always something that doesn't kind of click. But that's what experience does for you. Over time, you kind of look back and you analyze your performance at a show, and you think to yourself, what could I have done different? What could I have done better? There's no such thing as a perfect show. There's always going to be a point where you're kind of like, oh, I forgot to do this one thing. But, that's okay. It's a work in progress. You'll always get better about it. All right? So just, give yourself the opportunity to make mistakes too, because that's what's going to allow you to get better. All right? Finally, it's all about execution. Once you're finally back out there, what you really want to focus on, and it's very simple, it's when you're pitching your project, keep it to about 15 to 30 seconds. Be confident, determined, and passionate when you're putting yourself out there. There's this one artist that I'm friends with. Her name is Christie Shinn. And I've noticed that on her Facebook post, she said, I'm going to the show and I'm going to make money my bitch. And it's funny, but at the same time, it's building her confidence up. She's out there and she's determined, and you can see it, and she's out there pushing, and she's out there selling, and she's out there making things happen. That's what you need to do. Get yourself into a position where you feel comfortable, where you can get out there, where you can be confident, all right? This won't work unless you believe in yourself and unless you're confident, all right? So thank you guys for tuning in for this week's episode. Check back in next week. We'll have a brand new episode. This week, you can find me at Phoenix Comic Con in Artist Alley, table 1006. Eastern Shinn is going to be reaching for to break 80,000 sales this weekend, and I have no doubt that we're going to do it. We're going to be pushing real hard, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. So until then, onward to victory.